Welcome to Copyright in the Classroom by the Mary F. English Program. This presentation will teach you how to avoid violating copyright when creating classroom materials. So what is a copyright? According to Wikipedia, copyright is a legal concept enacted by most governments giving the creator of an original work exclusive rights to it, usually for a limited time. Generally, it is the right to copy, but also gives the copyright holder the right to be credited for the work, to determine who may adapt the work to other forms, who may perform the work, who may financially benefit from it, and other related rights. So as a teacher, what can happen if you violate copyright? You could receive a warning, which would be a legal cease and desist letter. You could receive a fine, to which Amy Hopkins explains, if a lawsuit is brought in a court, the infringer will have to pay the copyright owner the amount of money the infringer made from using the work, or that the owner would have made if the infringement had not happened. So fines can range from a lot of money to very little money. If you're caught violating copyright, you could also lose your job, or in the worst case, you could go to jail. Duration of copyright starts at the moment of creation until 70 years after the death of the creator. Your original works are automatically protected under copyright laws, whether you have formally registered it for copyright or not. So this means you must assume that any work you want to use is under copyright unless there is proof to the contrary. So what type of stuff is protected under copyright? Literary works, musical works, dramatic works, pictorial or sculptural works, motion pictures, sound recordings, and more. But these are the ones that would be most important from a teacher's perspective. But not everything can be protected by copyright. For example, ideas, procedures, methods, systems, processes, concepts, principles, titles, names, short phrases and slogans, listings of ingredients, works that are not fixed in a tangible form of expression, such as an improvised speech or performance that is not recorded, works consisting of information that is commonly available and contains no originality, and works by the U.S. government. One of the most important concepts to understand from an educator's standpoint is fair use. Fair use is a long-standing doctrine that was written into the Copyright Act of 1976. It allows the use of copyrighted material without permission or payment when the benefit to society outweighs the cost to the copyright owner. It explicitly allows the use of copyrighted materials for educational purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. So you may be thinking, great, so I'll just make my materials and say all of it is for educational purposes and that it qualifies for fair use, so it's not a copyright violation. Well, it's not quite that simple. Fortunately, there are 5 basic rules to determine whether your usage qualifies under fair use or as a copyright violation. And those rules are to ask yourself, are you creating something new or just copying? Are you competing with the source you're copying from? Giving the author credit does not let you off the hook. The more you take, the less fair your use is likely to be. And the quality of the material you use is as important as the quantity. The more important the material is to the original work, the less likely it will be considered fair use. But most importantly, you're going to have to be able to explain how your use of copyrighted materials serves an educational purpose. According to Charlene Chausis, if your multimedia work serves traditional fair use purposes, criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research, you have a better chance of falling within the bounds of fair use than you do if your work is sold to the public for entertainment purposes and for commercial gain. To qualify for fair use, there are specific limitations set on how much of a material you can use. It's a good idea to write the following limitations down so you can refer to them when you're using copyrighted materials. So for motion media, the limit is up to 10% or 3 minutes, whichever is less, of a single copyrighted motion media work. For text material, up to 10% or 1,000 words, whichever is less, of a single copyrighted work of text. For music, lyrics, and music videos, up to 10%, but no more than 30 seconds of music and lyrics from a single musical work. Illustrations and photographs. A photograph or illustration may be used in its entirety, but no more than 5 images by an artist or photographer, and not more than 10% or 15 images, whichever is less, from a single published collected work. Now, this may come as a surprise to many teachers and students. But there are copyright restrictions against showing movies in school. According to fair use, you may use part of a legal copy of a movie in the classroom if it relates to the current subject of study. Showing a movie for entertainment purposes or as a reward is not permitted under fair use and is a violation of copyright, and you will need to get a license from a distributor or the Motion Picture Licensing Corporation, which will cost your school money. Another concept important to copyright law is that of the public domain. If a work is in the public domain, that means its intellectual property is not owned or controlled by anyone. These materials are public property and available for anyone to use for any purpose. And public domain materials include material whose copyright has expired, material released into the public domain by the copyright holder, and government documents. Now, for this presentation, I base this PowerPoint largely off of Amy Hopkins' slideshow, Copyright in the Classroom, Why Should We Care? Hopkins' slideshow is provided under a Creative Commons license, which gives me more liberty to use her work in my own than a traditional copyright. Specifically, Hopkins' slideshow is provided under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 3.0 license. This license means that as long as I properly cite Hopkins' work within my own, I do not have to worry about copyright violation as much as you normally would with a stricter copyright. So what is Creative Commons? Creative Commons is a not-for-profit organization of content creators. Creative Commons is a non-profit that offers an alternative to full copyright. It enables copyright holders to grant some or all of their rights to the public. The intention is to avoid the problems current copyright laws create for the sharing of information. Not all Creative Commons licenses are equal, though. In fact, there are 6 different licenses offered by Creative Commons. There's the Attribution license, which allows others to distribute, remix, tweak, and build upon your work, even commercially, as long as they credit you for the original creation. This is the most liberating of all the licenses that they offer. There's the Attribution Share-alike, which lets people basically do whatever they want with your work as long as they credit you and license their new creation under the identical Creative Commons terms. There's the Attribution Non-Commercial license, which lets them do what they want as long as whatever they're making it for is non-commercial. There's the Attribution No Derivatives, which allows for redistribution, commercial and non-commercial, as long as it is passed along unchanged and in the whole with credit to you. So you cannot edit a work that is the Attribution No Derivatives license. You can only use it. There's the Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives, which is basically the last license, except you cannot use it for commercial purposes. And last, there is the Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike license, which lets people basically do whatever they want with your work as long as it's for non-commercial purposes and as long as they share it under the same open source license that you used. So the following are some tips on how you can find non-copyrighted materials for your classroom. If you want free to use images, you can use sites like freephoto.com, flickr.com/creativecommons, wpclipart.com, pdclipart.com, and Google Images allows you to only search for free to use images if you use the advanced search option. You can do that by clicking right here through your Google Images, and then down here where it says usage rights, you can select based on what type of Creative Commons license the picture is using. You can get free to use audio for, say, your slideshow presentations by visiting ccmixter.org, jamendo.com, or freesound.org. And you can find free to use video by visiting ourmedia.org or youtube.com, which also has an advanced search, a lot like Google. The way you'd find it is by clicking the filters button up here and then selecting Creative Commons and typing in whatever you want to search up here above. And one really good place where you can find images, audio, and video is commons.wikimedia.org. So some things to know about proper attribution and citing sources. There are 3 different styles you can use. There's the APA style, which is used most frequently in education, psychology, and social sciences. There's MLA citation, used most frequently in literature, arts, and humanities. And the Chicago Manual of Style citation, which is also used for humanities disciplines. Since presumably you're an educator, we'd recommend using the APA style. For proper citation, you can search on Google how to cite in APA format. Otherwise, there's some automated generators that will work for you. you can go to bibme.com, ezbib.com, or Citation Machine, and they'll help automate the process. So, in conclusion, assume everything is copyrighted unless it says it is not. Your best reason for using a copyrighted material is that it serves an educational purpose, aka fair use. To be safe, use only Creative Commons or public domain images, audio, or video in your class materials. And if you are using copyrighted materials, remember, video 10% or 3 minutes, whichever is less. Text 10% or 1,000 words. Audio 10% or 30 seconds. And for images, no more than 5 images from an artist or photographer. Also, showing movies in class as entertainment for students is a violation of copyright. Movies must have educational purpose, or your school must have a license to show the movie. And always cite your sources. That does it for this presentation. Thanks for watching.